On the road again, a short stop at a quaint fortress town of Monteriggioni. It's a commune in the province of Siena. In medieval times, communes were walled towns or cities, whose inhabitants banded together for the common good and defense, especially against robber barons and bandits. Though an independent commune, it was part of Ghibellini Siena. Sitting atop a small hill, it was a strategic location to defend the Cassia Road running through the Val d'Elsa and the Val Staggia against the Guelphi forces of Firenze, and the occasional attempts by the Bishop of Volterra lying to the west. Built in the years 1213 to 19, the town's walls are 570 meters or 1,870 feet long, with 14 towers at equidistance, 2 portals or gates, one the Porta Fiorentina, facing north to Firenze, the other Porta Roma to the south, facing Rome. The main street connects the 2 gates almost in a straight line. As always, the focal point of any town, in this case the Piazza Roma, is the church. Go in if you want, mais ce n'est pas très intéressant. With my back to the church, you can see some of the main buildings originally owned by the local nobles. While on the side streets, there are public gardens and small businesses. Monteriggioni's downfall. Firenze never breached the walls or captured it by force, but in 1554 Siena put in charge of the town Giovannino Zetti, who had been exiled from Firenze. He reconciled himself to the Medici by handing over the keys of the town to the Medici armed forces. He knew which side his bread was buttered on. It was a fast trip from Monteriggioni to San Gimignano. I call it San Jimmy for short. It lies almost equidistant between Guelphi Firenze and Ghibellini Siena. San Jimmy is a very small walled medieval hilltop town. It's known as the Italian Manhattan because of all its towers. There were originally 76, now just 13. Why were they built? Why? Because they were lodgings, fortresses, and above all, snob value. Mine's bigger than yours. These are massive, almost impregnable walls. As Massimo walks ahead leading the way, I gasp in wonderment how long these walls have stood. Since 1199. It was a pilgrim's way station on the way to Roma and the Vaticano, along the Via Francigena, which runs from Canterbury in England through France and Switzerland into Italy, with many stopping places till it reaches Roma. In through the Porta San Giovanni, we ambled up the via of the same name. Tourists to the right of us, tourists to the left of us, volleyed and thundered. Into the Valley of Chaos we walked and blundered. Built into the wall, the last painting by Pinturicchio of the Madonna and Child, with a faded St. Benedict on the left and opposite St. Gregory. It starts like distant rolling thunder. Robin Hood? It can't be. You're in luck. It's a medieval festival, fair and joust, put on by the Knights of Santa Fina or Serafina, a 13th century San Jimmy saint. Performers come from all over Europe. This colorful group, led by a woman, is a Fanfarenzug, or Baumendrügel Corps, from Meersburg on Lake Constance. The lake borders Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. the whole shebang is going to be held in the Piazza Duomo. This is the calm before the chaos. Last-minute consultation between the compère, sans chapeau, and el capo di tutti capi. Alles ist in Ordnung. These twin towers are still standing. On this boiling hot day, to placate the crowd, knowing it's made up of English speakers and Italians, they play Muslim music. Now that's sick. They're at it again. Check and double check. As the old saying goes, measure twice, cut once. This is the resignation to fate. Que sera, sera. Or the allora. All the players need to be in place before the parade starts. It's the children's turn. And turn they do. Back again. And the fun's only just begun. The San Gimignano Bum-and-Drugel Corps opens the festivities, followed by the city fathers, mothers, and others. A woman carrying a shabrack. Another woman with another shabrack. So what's a shabrack?
Porterà i colori della contrada di Castello e va da Caramello.
Each knight is honored, and this horse has his shabrack on. Watch him as he gets his shabrack. And now the knights are ready for the joust. We've seen the knights of old. These are the new knights, distinguished-looking carabinieri. The knights have gone to joust. Massimo and I have gone to joust with some pane and vino. Then tomorrow it's on to a quick peek at Pisa. It's a nice drive from San Jimmy to Pisa by the sea. The Tyrrhenian Sea, of course. Though today, it's an inland city. It's a city that goes back to the Pelasgi, the Greeks, the Etruscans, and the Ligurians. In ancient times, it was a major port, in fact, the major port between Ostia and a little sleepy village called Genoa. Pisa's rise and fall as a major Mediterranean trading port began in the 7th century and ended with its larger naval force defeated by the Genoese fleet in the 13th century in 1284 at the Battle of Meloria. As you can see on the street map, the Campo di Miracoli, where we're going, lies right at the edge of the old walled city. The Campo dei Miracoli, or Field of Miracles, comprises of the Camposanto Monumentale, the monumental cemetery to the far left, the baptistry in the foreground, the Duomo, and the Campanile or bell tower. Walking down the road on the right are souvenir shops as far as the eye can see. Ah, hat pins, but only on the way out. Again, the Camposanto Monumentale to the far left, and the Duomo ahead. The Duomo was started in 1064 by architect Buscetto, who is the originator of the distinctive Pisan Romanesque style. In 1063, Admiral Giovanni Orlando came to the aid of Roger I, Count of Sicily, helping him oust the Saracens. And the money came from the treasure that the Pisans seized, using it to build the Duomo. Here again is a zebra-striped Duomo, but only partially. The 5-aisled nave and 3-aisled transept is a biggie. And you notice the absence of frescoes. There was a fire in 1595 that destroyed most of the artwork, but it's still mighty impressive. Looking back from the high altar, there's a huge chandelier under the dome, a pulpit, which I'll talk about later, and a gilded coffered ceiling. This ceiling was added after the fire of 1595. The gold-decorated ceiling carries the coat of arms of the Guelfi Medici, who always put their stamp on anything Ghibellini. The massive mosaic in the apse is of Christ in Majesty, with the Blessed Virgin Mary on one side and St. John the Evangelist on the other. This is the masterpiece of Cimabue of Assisi faded fame. He did this in 1302, and it survived the fire. What a beautiful shot! The Cimabue apse, the chandelier, and the dome. The Duomo is dedicated to the Assumption. That is, the bodily assumption of the Blessed Mother into heaven. The dome is a fresco of this event by Rinaldi. This is another pulpit by Giovanni Pisano. He did it between 1302 and 1310. It too survived the fire. Though similar in design to the one in the Siena Duomo, its main difference is that the scenes are not of the Last Judgment, but rather 9 scenes from the New Testament, carved in white marble with a chiaroscuro effect. It also shows a bold, naturalistic, naked Hercules. A look at the back of Duomo gives you an idea of its size and architectural complexity. It's not just the leaning tower of Pisa that leans, the Campanile bell tower, but also the Duomo. It leans too. Un fiacale trottino, jaune avec un cocher blanc. Some Italians really are animal friendly. It was a scorching hot day, yet this Pisano thought enough of his horse that gave him his livelihood, not only to shade him, but to protect him from the chafing leather by covering it with a woolen material. Not so the barbarian with his fiacre. The Campanile Tower, 8 stories high, stands approximately 183 feet or 56 meters, and that's on the short side. On the tall side, 56 meters or 186 feet. The lean is 5.5 degrees. That may not seem to be a lot, but it means the tower is 4.5 meters from where it used to stand vertically. Work was begun in 1173, taking 174 years in all to complete. It started to tilt when the 3rd story was built. So after deep contemplation and a collective malora, they built the subsequent stories higher on one side than the other. It not only leans, but it's curved. With lots of technical work in the recent years, the tower has been declared stable for another 300 years. I love the Italians' concept of cherubs. They're always so playful and full of fun. But if you were to ask these parents, or be honest with yourself, you'd prefer the live ones. I'm almost done in. The temperature is in the mid-90s, and it feels like the humidity is about the same. Remember, it's the humility that brings you love. I've always got enough energy for more pins. Pins, pins. My hat is looking like a real travel junkie's. And it's a real good conversation starter. Pisa is done. Oh yes, there's more to see, but that's for another time. I'll hustle towards the gate of the old city wall where Massimo, my driver, awaits. Then it's on the road again, this time to the Ligurian coast and Santa Margherita and Sestri Levante.